Hey everyone, Tactics here, going through another advanced tormented route, this time for the Spires of Ascension. As with my previous advanced routing videos, this video doesn't hold back when it comes to skips, doing a bunch of highly coordinated pulls, and having certain composition requirements. So if you're someone who's looking for KSM, or you're just pugging a lot of keys in general, I would actually recommend checking out my simple routes video linked below or over on my channel. With that said, be sure to leave a like or subscribe to the channel if you learned something, and let's get into it. So we're starting off with a large pull. It's another one of those dungeons where we want to get Lust on CD fairly quickly, so you can try and fit in more than you would otherwise. So in this case, triple pull here, popping Lust. There is a ton of kicks in this pull. This is going to be one of the harder to execute pulls. Good thing is, if you screw it up, it was the first pull of the dungeon, so you can just walk right out. So mainly in this pull, there are a couple interrupts. First, the Burden of Knowledge kicks on both the castigators. In this, we normally let them just kind of spam cast Dark Bolt because we don't have an AoE silence. If you had something like a Vengeance or like a Boomkin, something like that, it would make this pull a lot safer. Even like an Elemental Shaman for the occasional stops from Earthquake, this pull would be a lot safer. Elemental Shaman also would give you more kicks on that Goliath, because if those of you that don't know, any Shaman spec can actually kick every single Goliath kick. Their kick length is just short enough that they can do that. Otherwise, you will need to put 2 kicks on the Goliath. We don't have a Shaman, we put 2 kicks on the Goliath. We put 1 kick on each of the castigators for the big casts. And then we have the Mender, which we use a stop to stop the healer, the heal cast. It's a channel, so you wait for the channel to go through, it starts channeling, and you instantly do a stop, so like a stun, a disorient, anything like that, to prevent it from actually ticking at all. This pull, we blow Lust, we nuke it, and the goal here really is to kill these 2 castigators before they get a second round off of their big Burden of Knowledge cast, because we, as our group comp, runs out of kicks. Right, so if your group comp, like I said, has any of those like big silences or stops, this may be a little bit more forgiving. For our specific group comp, it's a little bit scary, but with Lust, it's pretty consistently these castigators are dead before anything bad happens, and you just want to make sure you're getting those Goliath kicks, because that's like one of the only things here that's going to wipe you. These burdens getting off are likely to kill a single player. This Goliath going off is likely to kill everyone but your tank or immunity. So really be careful for that. That's the most important thing here. We also often end up chaining this Goliath into this 3-pack because these 6 guys just kind of melt, and then you just have the Goliath. Obviously, if it's bolstering week, like it currently is, very scary to do that. You need to pump a lot more damage into this Goliath for bolstering, so just be careful of that. Inspiring week, we actually CC, I believe this Vanguard on the side here is inspired, so we CC him on Inspiring week, and we drag him up to this 3-pack, because this 3-pack also has an Inspiring mob in it, so it's not the end of the world there. From here, we just fly across. Lieutenants here. So on the Lieutenant front for this dungeon, this is another dungeon where Lieutenants, the rotation doesn't actually affect your routing, and a big reason for that is just because they're in terrible places. Arcolith is linked with Varuth again, so this will always be a good one you get early, but then you don't get access to your second one until the second boss platform, which in the vast majority of routes, no matter whether you go right or left after the first boss, you're done like 60+% of your trash, 70-ish maybe, depending on the route, and it's just like, you wait so long before getting powers, and then you have 2 guys over here. It's just, they're in bad spots, so it doesn't really matter what your what rotation is. It's just you're always going to be doing the same route. Pretty simple stuff here. Pull this stuff all together. It's a little easier because there's only 1 castigator. We still do the same thing with stops on the Mender, and we have a couple kicks on the Goliath. And then we have the boss. Go through the boss. We'll have cooldowns up. Nuke it down as fast as possible, and then we go up here and we do this pull. This pull is extremely scary. So the one thing is, Ether Divers in particular on an affix like Necrotic stack it up extremely quickly on your tank. This pull just gets so scary on Fortified weeks because of the spear throws, and also Necrotic weeks because your tank about 5 seconds into the pull will be unhealable for whatever reason. So what we actually do to group this pull up, because it is a bit hard to group up, is we actually stack, I'll zoom in a little bit here, we actually have the whole party stacked down here, Tank comes up, takes this pack, runs down in LOSs, and we put a Ring of Frost halfway up the stairs. That's key. The Ring of Frost, the tip of it is halfway up the staircase. This whole pack will just run down to the Path of Frost and be frozen. I'll then walk up as the tank and line it up so that I position myself so that these skirmishers all will jump straight back into the other side of the stairs. This is important because if you screw this up and they jump all the way up here or all the way down there or split in different directions, you're in trouble. Things like Ursul's Vortex make this very, very easy. Things like AoE control abilities, the Warrior Spear, Arms Warrior or Prot Warrior Spear, very, very good for this because they can't jump away, they get tethered back. So that's very useful as well. Demon Hunter Sigil can also be used here. So there are a few tools you can use to make this a little bit safer because if they get away from the tank, they will start casting their random target big hit, which you want to avoid because that thing chunks. So tanks, if you ever see one of these guys jump away, you need to slowly walk into melee of it and drag it back to your pack. We tend to use a kidney shot. We have a kidney saved up. If one of these guys just jumps away, we have a hard swap to it. The rogue will kidney it, and we just try and nuke that one down in particular before it starts getting too many casts off. And that's kind of what you have to do. You have to be very, very careful on this pull because just if you're facing the mobs in the wrong direction, they will just go all over the place. From there, we make our way to the right side. So this is a right side route. We pull this whole thing here. It's a pretty big pull, but this is an incarn pull, so this is fairly safe here. We get rid of this stuff, and then we move on to this platform here. Now, this pull is a little bit weird. So what we found is that this first pull with double Praetor, double Goliath, and then a Stealth Claw and an Ether Diver is just way too much tank damage. So what we've done is we blind this one Praetor here, and we go in with the rest of the stuff. And then we bring this Praetor, after the 60-second blind is up, into this next pull over here. Now, as you can see here, this pull has a lot of kicks. You need 4 kicks here, unless if you have no shamans, which we don't, of course. So 2 on each, and make sure a cast does not go off. That's really all there is to that pull. We then go across here, like I said, 2 Praetors. We LOS this Praetor to bring him over here with this pack. Make sure to pick up the spear. I guess I can mark that. Spear's right there. And we go across to the next platform, and this is where a pretty scary pull happens. So this is one of the scariest, probably the only other super scary pull in this dungeon, aside from that first one, which actually isn't too bad. But yeah, this is definitely the other super scary pull in the dungeon. So this blue pull here is our double pull. We commit the spear and we commit Bloodlust to make this pull safer here. And basically, you're just trying to nuke these guys down as quickly as possible. There is a Goliath, so you do need to have kick rotation ready. There's also an Inquisitor. Hopefully that dies before its kick is relevant, but you may need to have one person just watching for that big Inquisitor kick. And actually on the pull, so what we do here is we shroud right here just to be in between the packs. Right, so we end up right here between the packs in a shroud. I will pull this pack down when it comes to this area here, right where the Ether Divers are on this MDT route is where we wait for this pack to be. The Ether Divers will pat all the way around to back here, so they normally aren't an issue if you pull down far enough. So that's the key here. You have to pull this pack down to this pack, and to do that, you again need just an instant kick on this Inquisitor, and you'll just have the whole party stacked up down here, and that Praetor will just jump right in. And as soon as that happens, Spear goes down, Lust goes out, you pop everything, and you just try and nuke this group. And it's fairly successful. We've been fairly successful. We had problems when we were adding this Ether Diver pack into it, just because our group in particular, I think I mentioned this in another video, is target capped around 8. So that's kind of our limit. So this is perfect, an 8 target pull. Very scary, big cooldowns, and it's something that we found was much easier to handle as opposed to adding all 3 of these packs together. If you're a big uncapped AoE group, adding all 3 together may be an option for you. For us, it's really not, and we opt to just pull the Ether Divers after the fact. After this, we do skip this squad leader pack, and we do that. That's why we end up doing this pull over here. This pull over here lets us skip every single squad leader in the dungeon except this one here. So very, very good there. Squad leaders really increase your dungeon time in Spires, and there's something you generally, I think, want to avoid as much as possible. And so that's why we do this scary pull over here. It's so that we can save time by not having to do more squad leader pulls. So you do have to wait until they're halfway through their path at around this location, and we just sneak around the side here. Just a normal walk, no need for shroud, no need for anything like that. And if you're mounted, you can actually make this jump quite reliably, just full run and jump. If you're a little scared, levitate, slow fall, those kind of things will guarantee you make it out even without a mount. You can just do that and walk right off, and you'll make it more than halfway because of the positioning of these two platforms. So this is a pretty easy one to not need the angel for. From there, this pull, squad leader pull, we do actually CC the Inquisitor here to not have to worry about its kicks, because realistically with the squad leader up, you're only going to do like 10, 15, maybe 20% of its health anyways, so it's not that big of a time loss to just CC it and pull the other 4 things down, and you can strictly focus on kicking the diver and the champion, and then killing the squad leader, and then when that squad leader is dead, you can then add that Inquisitor into the pack, and it becomes the priority target, and you just have a lot more kicks that you don't need to use, because those bolts, right, those bolts do hurt. I know a lot of these pulls we aren't kicking bolts, but trust me, they do hurt a lot. So anytime you can mitigate this damage is very good. We then come to the second boss here, and finally access to another lieutenant. Now, this is where things get interesting. So Oros is tied to Soggodon, so it's either going to be Soggodon or Oros in this position. If it's Soggodon, we never pull him. No matter what happens, what the week is, we never pull him, because if you think about the last boss, where are you taking physical damage? It's if you're getting hit by the spear charge. You should never get hit by the spear charge, ever. And if you do get hit by the spear charge, you're already dead. It's a similar situation to the Halls of Atonement last boss with the statue throws on Tyrannical Week that I talked about, where like if you're getting hit by the statues on Tyrannical Week, you're already dying to them most likely, so it's not a big deal if they do 50% more damage because you're already dead. Same deal with this boss and this dungeon in general. So if this is Soggodon, you skip him. Oros is interesting. So we found with Oros is that when you get the magic debuff on the final boss, where when it expires or you're dispelled, it leaves a puddle. With Oros active, you can't get out of the puddle fast enough unless you use a blink or something like that. If you're just walking, you can't get out of the puddle fast enough to avoid getting a stack of the dot. And on Tyrannical Week, that drastically increased the damage intake of the boss fight. So much so that we think it's not worthwhile leaving Oros up on Tyrannical Weeks, but on Fortified Weeks, 100% doable, and definitely a time save. That's pretty solid for the dungeon, I would say, skipping both Oros and Soggodon. So our conclusion was Tyrannical Week, kill Oros because that dot hurts. Fortified Week, it's not the biggest deal, we can live, but that opinion may change on very high Fortified. We'll have to see what happens in the 21, 22, 23 plus area on Fortified. Until then, though, we think it's going to be fine on Fortified, at least in the low 20s, but we'll have to see what happens in the high. I may revise this later on, but at least for now, kill on Tyrannical Week, skip on Fortified Week. Not much to say about this boss here. After the nerf where these circles disappear after the one recharge, it's very simple. You can do so many things on this boss and get away with it, so not much to talk about there. Move up here, we have your second good lieutenant, so Varuth or Arkalith. We just tag him and pull him down here so you don't have to deal with this Hellion. And then we do the normal skip. Actually, also make sure you grab the spear here, like there. We do the normal skip of just walking up and around, then jumping down and going up here. This does require some sort of CC like in Mists of Tuna's Scythe. So Sap on this Warden, Paralyze, and Ring of Peace. Imprison from Demon Hunters, Mind Soothe from Priest, so those kind of CCs that reduce the aggro radius or get them out of range while CC'd. You will sometimes get into combat here, like fake combat, just because things are fighting. Don't worry about it. If that happens, just keep going. You'll be fine. You'll get out of combat when you jump up into this area. If this is Oros on a Tyrannical week, you do have to kill this here, so make sure you do that. If it's Zaggadon or if it's Oros on a Fortified week, you can leave them up. That's fine as well. And then we do this 4-pack here. This 4-pack is a little scary if you aren't on top of your kick. So if you ever let a kick go off in this 4-pack, somebody's dying. Or the pack goes all the way back to 4 health and then somebody's eventually dying. We have 3 melee kicks and a range kick. And basically the way this works is that if we don't end up killing like 2 of them in time, kicks may or may not be back up for the second set of interrupts. So you need to be very, very careful on this pull in particular. Make sure you're getting dispels quickly on the wardens when they get their weapon buff. And make sure 1 kick is assigned to the big kick of each of these 4 mobs. So got to be on top of your kicks for this pack. It's not a super scary pack, but it can be scary if you end up missing kicks. So just make sure you're on top of that. From here, we just shroud straight to the boss. There is actually a line. You don't even need to shroud. Where's the marker? Yeah, there is a line you can run like right here that doesn't pull either of the packs. So if you're feeling skinny, you can run right through there. We just commit shroud anyways because why not? We're not using it anywhere else. So we do that, go straight to boss here. And this is where our lust timings slightly differ, depending on whether it's Tyrannical or Fortified week. On Fortified week here, we do end up holding Bloodlust because angels are scary. I'll explain that in a bit. But on Tyrannical weeks, we will actually lust with the first big burn to try and get him very, very close to dead. We'll normally kill him before the second burn even happens, is the goal here. Just to save a little bit of time, and then Lust will also be back up for Davos Phase 2 if you do that. So that's what we do on Tyrannical weeks because the bosses take forever. But on Fortified weeks, we will hold Bloodlust. This is another boss, not too much to talk about. We try and stack the orbs, and then as the tank, I will eat all of the orbs. If you feel a little squishy or you're a little scared and the boss is lasting way too long, you can have immunity soak the orbs. But usually I'm perfectly fine to soak 2 whole sets of orbs by myself, maybe with 1 external if I need it. Then we have the angels. So what we do here is a little interesting. I don't see a lot of groups doing this. I'm not even 100% sure it's a time save, but it's definitely, it feels very, very safe. So this is what we do. We send our mage upstairs. While he's on the flight to get up here, we pull this pack here, and after that's dead, we pull this pack here with 4 people. These packs are very simple. We just LOS behind these pillars here for each pack respectively. Very easy to deal with, not very dangerous at all. When the mage gets up here, there's a spot you can stand in about here. It's about there. And basically what you do is he tags Astronos, he starts backpedaling, he tags Lachesis, and he backpedals right off the edge of the platform. When he falls down, he'll blink and he'll land somewhere in this area here. And pretty consistently, Astronos snaps down. I mean, it's like a 90-95% success rate to snap Astronos. It's like 50-50 if this snaps Lachesis. We haven't been able to consistently snap Lachesis down. We've done it, like I said, 50-50, but Astronos is extremely consistent snapping him down here. Now, why would you do that, you ask? Well, it's simple. If they die down here, they do not buff Klodos. That means that if you snap both of these guys down, Klodos will just be up there with he has the dot, I believe, yes. So he just has his dot. It won't be the damage taken increase. He won't have spears. He will just have his dot. So if you end up snapping both down, just be careful because they are evading for the first like 5-ish seconds when they're running around down here. So it can be a little scary. But after that, if we snapped both down, we commit Bloodlust on Fortified weeks and Spear. And we absolutely nuke them. Again, they do have to die together. If we only end up snapping Astronos down, we're still happy because then these 2 guys do not have spears. And then we still commit the Spear to Klodos, and obviously on Fortified weeks also Bloodlust to Klodos, because Klodos, even with only the damage taken increase, is still exceptionally scary on Fortified weeks. From there, we all fly up after we've killed either just Astronos or Astronos and Lachesis down at the bottom. We all go up, finish off Klodos, and then we do Davos On tyrannical weeks, Lust tends to be up in the second phase of Davos. And like I said, not much to talk about here. The spear thing was fixed to skip phases in season 2, so that no longer works. There is still the whole, did you pick Oros or not? If you did leave Oros up, then dodging the spear charges can be a little scary. We've found that stacking up kind of in a line, for example, like wherever the circle is, let's say the circle spawns like here, right? So what we would do is I would drag Davos to like this part of the circle, then we would all be stacked up like in this area here. And that would mean that everyone knows where she's charging, because sometimes it is a little unclear where she's charging. Everyone knows that when the charge goes out, we all just shift in one direction, and the melee don't get kind of screwed because the boss will charge straight into the wall right here and not go like halfway across the platform. So melee, who are super slowed as well, don't need to run super far to stay on the boss. Now, you may say, the intermission must be super sucky with the 50% slow. Well, funnily enough, you're not slowed in the intermission. For whatever reason, the slow appears to be an aura on the boss, right? So it's the aura directly translates. It's not just a buff on the boss while you're in combat with it. It's an aura around the boss. So you're actually not slowed in the intermission because the boss jumps up more than 40 yards away, or whatever the aura range is, and you move normal speed during the intermission. So it's actually a complete non-issue. And something maybe a few people don't know. So if you didn't know, there you go. You know, Oros does not slow you in the intermission, so you can still complete that very quickly and without any major issues, and get out of that ramping damage phase there and go back and fight the extremely exciting Davos fight. But that is pretty much it for my advanced tormented route for Spires of Ascension, guys. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like it. If you have any questions regarding the route, the dungeon itself, or even just Mythic Plus or tanking in general, feel free to leave a comment down below, or you can come stop by my Twitch channel at Tactics, and I'll do my best to answer. That is all for me, though. Thanks everyone so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.